Okay.
All right. So we may be getting an early indication of whether the president will hold Vladimir Putin accountable for hacking the American election just minutes ago. In a joint news conference with the Polish leader, NBC's Hallie Jackson asked President Trump if he believed once and for all that the Kremlin interfered in our politics. He quickly turned the tables against President Obama and the media and America's own intelligence.
Well, I think it was Russia, and I think it could have been other people in other countries. Could have been a lot of people interfered. I said it very simply. I think it could very well have been Russia, but I think it could well have been other countries, and I won't be specific. But I think a lot of people interfere. I think it's been happening for a long time. It's been happening for many, many years. Now, the thing I have to mention is that Barack Obama, when he was president, found out about this. In terms of if it were Russia, found out about it in August. Now, the election was in November. That's a lot of time. He did nothing about it. Why did he do nothing about it? He was told it was Russia by the CIA, as I understand it. It was well reported. And he did nothing about it. They say he choked. Well, I don't think he choked. I think what happened is he thought Hillary Clinton was going to win the election, and he said, let's not do anything about it. Had he thought the other way, he would have done something about it. So he was told in early August by presumably the CIA that Russia was trying to get involved or meddling pretty strongly with the election. He did nothing about it. The reason is he thought Hillary was going to win. And if he thought I was going to win, he would have done plenty about it. So that's the real question, is why did he do nothing from August all the way to November 8th? Why did he do nothing? His people said he choked. I don't think he choked.
So the follow-ups for you on that, Mr. President, you again say you think it was Russia. Your intelligence agencies have been far more definitive. They say it was Russia. Why won't you agree with them and say it was?
Well, I'll tell you, let me just start off by saying I heard it was 17 agencies. I said, boy, that's a lot. Do we even have that many intelligence agencies, right? Let's check it. And we did some very heavy research. It turned out to be 3 or 4. It wasn't 17. And many of your compatriots had to change their reporting, and they had to apologize, and they had to correct. Now, with that being said, mistakes have been made. I agree. I think it was Russia, but I think it was probably other people and/or countries. And I see nothing wrong with that statement. Nobody really knows. Nobody really knows for sure. I remember when I was sitting back listening about Iraq, weapons of mass destruction, how everybody was 100% sure that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Guess what? That led to one big mess. They were wrong, and it led to a mess. So it was Russia. And I think it was probably others also, and that's been going on for a long period of time. But my big question is, why did Obama do nothing about it from August all the way to November 8th? He did nothing about it, and it wasn't because he choked.
All right, so Willie, if you're keeping score at home, this is remarkable. You have a United States president on foreign soil attacking the CIA, attacking our intelligence communities, attacking America's free press on foreign soil, and attacking a former president of the United States repeatedly, while seeming to try to juggle two alternate realities. Number one, maybe it was Russia, maybe it was the fat dude in Jersey, maybe it was other state players. So he says that first. Then he goes to, it was Russia. And his words here, the CIA pretty strongly warned Barack Obama that it was Russia. It did nothing. So when Barack Obama comes up, Russia was the one that interfered in our elections, and he had pretty strong evidence about it.
Well, there are two pieces of this. The first is the one you alluded to, which is a president of the United States ripping another president of the United States on foreign soil. That's
and the CIA and the American
and
press.
The press. That's unseemly on its own.
Yeah.
Where he's wrong again, and Hallie followed up on this, is he won't just come out and say that Russia had something to do with it cleanly. He'll say, yes, they may have had something to do, but it also might have been China and a lot of other people. It's what he's been saying going back to the debate with Hillary Clinton in October. October the 7th, as we all know at this point, the intel agencies came out. Remember, Jay Johnson said on this set a couple of weeks ago and reiterated the evidence and intelligence that he had. They came out and said, yes, Russia interfered in our election. So the question again for President Trump is, why do you disagree with your intel agencies? Do you know something, or are you hiding something? What's the reason that you won't go along with this?
He doesn't know anything that his intel agencies aren't telling him, Mark Halperin. He just won't come out and admit, I don't know what Vladimir Putin has over him, but what everybody else knows. He's still talking about, well, maybe Russia, maybe another state, maybe the fat guy in Jersey. He says other people. And at the same time, again, when Barack Obama's name comes up, he is certain Russia interfered. And he had strong evidence that Russia interfered, but he did nothing.
His whole answer is of a piece with what he said in the past, but it's, of course, more significant because he's about to meet with Vladimir Putin. And I think a lot of people were hoping that his answer would be more directed towards warning the Russians. Because now, within that room, the people who are fearing that he will not be tough on Putin for Russia's interference in the election, I think are going to be more worried that he's going to hedge his bet and the fat guy in Jersey better go on the lam.
Richard, there are obviously negative signs already being sent out by Donald Trump. There were a few things the international community may look at and say, well, maybe there is. He is showing a bit of restraint to Putin. One being, of course, that he talks about. Well, first of all, he's in Poland, as we said before. But secondly, talked about how the future of Western civilization is at risk and we have to stand up to it. He does talk about Russian interference. How do you juggle all that?
Well, it's a juggle. Even going to Poland's a juggle, because on one hand, they are spending 2%. It is one of the more anti-Russian foreign policies. On the other hand, Poland is also one of the more illiberal countries in Europe. So it's a balancing. It's no accident, shall we say, that he's in Poland. Look, in terms of Russia more broadly, you've got three baskets, or maybe now four baskets of concerns. You've got the election interference, you've got Ukraine and the potential threat to Europe, you've got the Middle East, and you've got the fact that Russia's playing a larger role in North Korea. And they are beginning to complement the Chinese in providing something of a lifeline to North Korea. So he's got an enormous agenda. Yeah. This sort of dancing around reluctance to pin the tail on the donkey obviously is not the best way to tee up this meeting. He ought to be putting Putin on the defensive. I don't quite understand why he's giving him something of a pass here.
Let's back up even 10, 20,000 feet, KDK, just in terms of international optics. What comes to mind when you watch those few minutes there of the president speaking?
I think we have a snapshot really today of a world that Richard would like this, the world that really is in disarray. And you have the North Korean threat as Trump arrives in Europe, but the Europeans are clearly not going to stand shoulder to shoulder with America anymore. Angela Merkel took the president's arrival in Europe as a chance to have a big interview in a German paper about how she doesn't see eye to eye with President Trump, and President Trump is out on a limb in terms of his view of the world at the moment. And at the same time, you've got President Trump also picking fights with the Chinese and refusing to reject Russia's view of its interference in the U.S. election and Russia's view of its role in the world at the moment. So you couldn't have a more destabilized world at a time when the United States seems to be in retreat from leadership, and European countries and the Chinese and the Russians have all recognized that and are starting to jostle for power and form their own alliances.
So, you're good at this. What would have been a better way to answer the question, Joe? That could have been perhaps more stabilizing, more cohesive, perhaps more polite, perhaps less embarrassing internationally.
Well, what you'd want to do is, and I think everybody would recognize this, acknowledge it. Russia tried to interfere in our elections.
And what about a unifying, cohesive response to it?
Russia tried to interfere in our elections. We are meeting with Vladimir Putin tomorrow. We want to seek assurances that they will never do it again so we can put it behind us and begin worrying about things that are going to matter in 2017 and not 2016. Syria, the threat from North Korea, the other threats across the country, across Europe.
So you didn't have to study up for that.
Like
that just...
But it's all, David Ignatius, it's all personal with him. We tried to talk about it yesterday. Even if you do not believe that Russia had an impact on the outcome of the 2016 election, but still tried to interfere with the election, Donald Trump simply cannot admit one because he thinks it undercuts his election. How about clearing this up for our viewers? Donald Trump says that the intel communities did not all come out saying that Russia tried to interfere in our elections. What can you tell us on Thursday, July 6, 2017, about what we know based on our intel communities on what Russia did in the 2016 elections?
The Director of National Intelligence, who represents the 17 different agencies, issued a statement in October very specifically blaming Russia for this meddling in our election. He spoke for all the agencies he heads. It is true that the specialized intelligence about Russian actions planning had been gathered by only several of those agencies, but he was speaking, as they say in the church, ex cathedra. So I think that's a sort of silly technical point. Watching Trump's bland defensive performance in Poland, you would not know that he is heading toward what I think will be the most fateful couple of days of his presidency so far. We have a real life crisis now with North Korea, and the president's ability to respond to it creatively, firmly, wisely is going to be crucial, literally, for war and peace in Northwest Asia. And you just have to hope that he is better prepared for that meeting than the comments in Poland would have indicated. He's going to need to work with Russia, so the idea of not closing the door to Russia makes some sense. Right. He's going to need to work with China, with Japan, with all the neighbors. In answer to your question, Joe, the simple thing that he should have said in that press conference was, there is a special counsel investigating this matter. Robert Mueller, highly respected former FBI director, and I'm going to leave the judgment about precisely what happened to him. That would be a good answer.
That too would work.
It's correct.
And pigs would be flying around Warsaw, circling, and RAF.
One thing David said, this is an odd time for the president to be raising questions internationally, standing on the soil of another country, about the track record and believability of the American intelligence community. Yes, we got it wrong, or they got it wrong in Iraq, but we're about to have a conversation with the world where we are likely to be saying, here's what we know about North Korea. And this is going to be based on American intelligence. And we're going to be trying to rally international support for whatever it is we do, diplomatically or conceivably militarily, based on American intelligence findings. It's just an odd time to basically be saying you can't believe the CIA, you can't believe in this, and the intelligence community about Russia or about Iraq. This is an odd way to tee up international support.
I'm certain that his foreign policy team didn't prepare him that way, that he's riffing. Would anybody on that team think there was anything productive?
As we said before, you're on foreign soil. This is remarkable.
Riffing?
I remember being very, very critical of former Majority Leader Harry Reid for attacking George W. Bush when he was in Russia. We called him stupid or an idiot or something like that. I forget exactly what the words were. And for a sitting president of the United States, really, to be on foreign soil, we can't really underline this enough, and attack America's intel community on foreign soil, and attack America's free press on foreign soil, long seen by dissidents and others that are suffering in the prisons of autocrats, as Ronald Reagan said, a city shining brightly on the hill for all the world to see. for him to attack American institutions 2 days after the 4th of July on foreign soil, the day before we meet America's chief adversary, is nothing short of disgusting.
And Mika's right. This was a riff. This was not.
Wow.
This was not in prepared marks. That was in response to a question from Hallie Jackson. And as you said, he cannot let any slight go unpassed. He had to talk about Russia, but remind the world, as he spoke at that podium next to the Polish president, that it was not he, but President Obama who had a chance to do something about it.
And when President Obama had a chance to do something about it, suddenly it was Russia.
Right.
And he knew it was Russia.
Right.
And the CIA gave him strong evidence that it was Russia.
And by the way, there's a case to be made that President Obama should have done a lot more.
Of course he should have.
We all agree on that,
Yeah.
but that's not the forum to bring that up.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.